Hey, Tulsa County, Ethan Hutchins here with the Tulsa County Board of County Commissioners with this month's edition of Commissioner's Corner. I'm joined with Commissioner Lonnie Sims, District 2 Commissioner. Tell everyone where we are.
Well, first off, it's a lot quieter than it was the last time we were out. I think we were on the Jinx Bridge, but we're actually at the Route 66 Historic Village. So if you've never been here, it's really one of the gems on Route 66. A lot here for everybody to see. More importantly, for those kids that need to take selfies, you are going to find more than probably 100 different spots that they can take selfies with a train, with a drilling rig, with an old gas station, with a car, with an old box car that we used to see on trains when we were kids. So I would say if you've not been here, it's definitely a short trip to get here and one you will enjoy with the family and the kids for sure.
And it's in your district.
It is.
Here in District 2. We came here to talk about last year. You were chair of the BOCC and you just passed the baton over to Commissioner Dunkerley at the start of this year. Talk about your vision behind your chair year and what you were trying to accomplish. I know one of those being building out a team. That was super important to you.
Yeah, number one priority was one, to listen to your constituents. I was just coming off the doorstep in election, so really had a good feel with what the priorities of the public were, and really wanted to see what I could do from a chair position to transform the county to be cognizant of that and seeing if we could get some wins for the community when it came to transparency and some of these things I was hearing on the doorstep. To do that, you got to have a great team. And I am extremely blessed with the team for District 2. Mark Van Kuren, who I served with in the House, was a state championship basketball coach at Seminole. He agreed to come on as my deputy commissioner. And then my executive assistant role, who really does all the work for District 2 and keeps us out of trouble, is Amy Smith, small business owner herself. Very much involved in the Jinx Chamber of Commerce and really building out that organization. So highly capable, highly talented people to work with my team. And I think it was transformative in what we were able to get accomplished over our first year, really coming in as the new kids on the block. I feel like we really accomplished a lot of great things for the county. It paid dividends in a lot of the accomplishments beyond the county, and one in particular, low barrier shelter, and something you were directly involved with. I'm happy to say you're one of these accomplishments, and I can't take all the credit. I definitely give credit to my fellow commissioners and their support for the vision and the ideas that we had. You were a phenomenal addition in the sense that if you're not telling your story these days, somebody else is. And it's critical that we get the good things we do at the county out to the public. And what a lot of the public didn't understand is we had an emergency family shelter. We've been in the homeless business for, you could say, 50 years. But we had an emergency family shelter that was within 75 feet of the location that the city was considering for a low barrier shelter. And so you heard a lot about the county was unwilling to work with the city. What they didn't realize is the playground literally was 75 feet from this building. So what we were asking for were some security protections for our people who are already there. We wanted to preserve and protect the operation that we had, and we needed a win-win, because if our program fails and theirs succeeded, it's still, we're going to have a negative there. So let's find a solution that works well for both of us. The work you did with social services to really get that story out, to educate the public and educate some of the leadership over there with the city of Tulsa was phenomenal. And really, I think, turned those negotiations around where we got to the solution and compromise that we did. And I think it will serve us well, especially with a major priority in our community, which is the homeless situation and how do we reduce that? How do we transition them to housing? That's a big component of what the mayor wanted to accomplish. So happy to support him, but also very happy to put our program on a footing that it's going to continue to serve this community well in the future.
Transparency is also paramount at the county level, and that was one thing from my discussions with you that you brought to the table when you took this position at trying to create a position that was very focused on that. So we have an OGET position now. Can you talk about that and how that kind of transpired?
Yeah, from day one, we had identified a position that used to be government relations, and was an open position. And so what we did was retask the job description to really be a government efficiency and transparency. How can we, one, better communicate across the spectrum of different departments and divisions we have within the county to find efficiencies, but also how can we better communicate with the public? And one of the big priorities was online streaming. We were not live streaming our Board of County Commissioner meetings. As much as we would like to think everybody can make it to the meetings, they can't. And we really have to meet the people where they get their news these days, and that's a big one right there. To get that accomplished, it takes technology, it takes people, and so being able to take that position, we hired a great individual to come in, David Tackett, who's done an exceptional job working with IT, and by July we actually have all our meetings are now, they're not completely live streamed, but they are live recorded and they go on to the internet and get posted to YouTube and Facebook, where our community can actually tap in and see what we're talking about, seeing what we're approving. And to me, that's just standard service. It was standard service at the state capitol. All of our meetings, our committee meetings were recorded, live streamed in real time. And that's just the modern age of what we do. So anything we could do to move and better improve that line of communication with our constituents. They pay the bills. They're the taxpayers. They should be getting the information when it comes to their government.
There were a lot of changes during your chair year as well with public safety and emergency management. The first month you were here, I wasn't with the county yet, but I was told that you had to shut down the county departments because of severe weather.
Yeah, it's really first weekend. The first week I came on board, we had to close the county, and within the first month we'd had to close the county, I think 3 days in total due to inclement weather. And that's just one of the things that I've been in public service for over 20 years, been very blessed to do it. You got to love people, and you got to understand that Mother Nature is going to be Mother Nature, and you can't predict these storms. You just got to do your best to get the right people and the right resources to bear to minimize the impact it has. And so it was unexpected, but it's kind of expected. Luckily, I had a great partner in the courthouse and the presiding judge over there, so we coordinated the closures to minimize the impact on the public. But yeah, it was kind of thrown into the fire, thrown into the pool of water, and swim. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. But one thing I found out, we have a very competent team here at the county, and they weren't going to let me drown. They were going to lift me up. So I had a few life preservers out there that helped me out along the way. But probably the bigger issue that you talk about happened later in the year when we had the TEMA director who was arrested. Very unfortunate situation, one that's absolutely unacceptable. And we recognized that. We took immediate action. Appreciate our partner in the city of Tulsa, because really that's a joint agency. TEMA, you have the Tulsa County and the city of Tulsa have that agency together. And one thing I found over the years, sometimes crisis leads to opportunities. And it gave us a chance to take a step back, both of us as a county and as a city, and say, is there a better way we can do this? And really brought in the state emergency manager to give us some advice and guidance too. And we found out that we were one of the few counties out there that still have a joint agency. Most have separated long ago. So gave us an opportunity to really go hire a tremendous individual, William Smiley. Spent 26 years, I believe, with the Corps of Engineers. Actually wrote the emergency plan for the levee. We have a very important levee construction project that we're working on now, and that's another accomplishment. We were able to get that agreement signed, that PPA agreement signed with the Corps of Engineers, so we can move forward with construction. He's going to be instrumental in making sure that that moves forward, and he's paying big dividends too, even back to the 2019 flood buyout program. He recognized that, hey, there's been more than enough time to take care of those properties that were probably the underserved, and now we can step into these other properties that maybe didn't fall below the income threshold, that were just above it, and start taking action to help them get assistance and support, because you got people 5-6 years later that are still living outside of their house. They have still not been able to complete that transaction. So he came in immediately, sped that process up, got the approval to move forward with these other properties that up until then had not qualified. So just a huge addition, done a great job of putting that department together, and really happy to have him on board.
Another big project that you have had to kind of navigate through during your chair year was the construction at the courthouse, the life safety improvements. Can you talk about that project and where we are with that?
Yeah, the courthouse, you probably don't see a lot of that on the news, and really I was not here for the approval of that project, but it's a major project in that I think they did a study and it identified about 80 million in really kind of critical life safety, just quality of life type improvements for that building, and life safety to the public, life safety to the judges. I mean, we literally had plaster and brick falling off the buildings on the interior. Very difficult challenges when it comes to heating and cooling that building. You got asbestos, you got areas that are not sprinklered, just upgrading those systems. Elevators, we were down to one elevator in the courthouse. And so really some critical life safety type renovations that needed to be accomplished. The board, as the clock was ticking on the ARPA funding that came from the federal government that had to be identified the project by the end of 2024. They had about 29 million left and felt like, hey, it would be best spent on this project. Fast forward to where we are now, sometimes it's easy to look and say, hey, this needs to happen. It's another thing when you actually come to the application and doing the construction. So think about a building where you have people giving emotional testimony that are on trial for their lives, that are on trial against a possible abuser, and you got construction going on out your window. Very difficult in those situations, very difficult on a jury to be able to focus on that. And so when we stepped in, it was really getting contentious in that building. And what we found out was the contractor had kind of hid behind what they called the downtown noise ordinance. And so I immediately reached out to my counterpart over at the city, to the mayor, and said, hey, we need to get a variance so we can move construction out of regular hours where we're having jury trials and these kind of things. And he said, Lonnie, they repealed that ordinance a couple of years ago. And so just that knowledge alone, we were able to go back to the contractor. Hey, you don't have a noise ordinance that you're beholden to. Let's move the time. So we start at 5 o'clock now. Did cost us some additional funding to do that, but we felt it was well worth the investment to protect the community, protect the constituents that are involved in juries or having to give that kind of testimony, and really protect our judges who have to work in that building in very difficult conditions often. Long term, I think we still have to look at what the future is for a courthouse in Tulsa County, but really to address these life safety issues, these need to happen. Still a lot of challenges with that project. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. There's definitely been issues with the window manufacturing and things like that we will deal with. But as far as the people issue in that building, I think we have definitely found a better working arrangement, better lines of communication. We meet routinely, the Board of County Commissioners, with our judges, and so that definitely has improved our relationship there in that building.
In my conversations with you, I know that there was a focus pretty early on when you became a commissioner to address the maintenance barn in your district. Sure. and find a long-term solution for that, and also getting some additional equipment to really make it tolerable for the crews who work in District 2. Could you talk about that plan, the vision behind that, and where your goals are?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's one of those things you don't know what you have till you walk in the door. And that first storm, I walked in, noticed that we had 2 of our dump trucks full of sand parked in the shop area because that's all it can take is 2 trucks. And I'm like, what's the situation here? And they're like, well, at least we'll have 2 dry loads of sand to go spread on the roads once the snow and ice hits. And I'm like, why only 2? And they were like, well, look out the back door and you see that we don't have a hoop house or a cover for our sand out there. Our facility for District 2 was built in 1965, very outdated. Shop design is a life safety issue in itself because the offices open directly to the shop. So if you ever had a fire in the shop, anybody in those offices, forget about it. They're never going to make it out of the building. And so the first priority, address life safety. We were able to get approval for a construction trailer And so people driving by, when they see the trailers out there, we have moved the offices outside the building to these trailers now to get them in a safe area. We don't have to worry about mold issues because the building was flooding every time it rained, literally, 2 to 3 inches of water flowing through my superintendent's office when it rained. So you can just imagine the mold situation. So immediately knew, hey, we've got to modernize our facilities in District 2. District 1 and District 3 both had new facilities built about 5 years ago, so it's definitely past time for District 2. You fast forward to the first of paving season, our paver goes down. Go out to the barn, and I'm asking my superintendent, I'm like, well, what's the situation here? You say it's kaput. What does that mean? And he goes, well, it's done. And I'm like, okay, what's done? Like, we need to take it to the shop and get it, some maintenance. And he goes, no, like, it's done. It's got 10,000 hours. There's no fixing it. So our paver's out. First job of paving season. So immediately that gets your attention. We start really looking at the equipment. Grateful to Alex, our engineering director, to really working with us and finding the dollars. We were able to upgrade our paver, got a brand new paver, got 2 new track hose, got a new roller, and so really modernized our capabilities where I feel like we need to be to take care of this district that's growing, that has an extremely bright future ahead. We have definitely got to get ahead of things on the infrastructure front because I know what's coming. I've seen what happened in Jinx. I started on the planning commission there when it was 8,500 people. It's up to 35,000 now. So I can really see a lot of changes that we went through there are going to happen here, and it's better to get ahead of those when it comes to infrastructure. So first things first, we got to catch up on the outstanding projects that have been out there for a long time, and that's something that we've been able to do. We got the new paver, and so I made the pitch internally, hey, let us kind of break this new paver in with some of these smaller projects. They're maybe a quarter mile, half mile, never going to get done because they just don't get it high enough on the radar when it comes to, but they've been way neglected. I mean, really bad roads in our county. And so I told our superintendent, get me a list and let's see if we can get some funding for it. We did. We got that probably the end of October. He's already through that list. So we had great weather through the holidays. We really took advantage of it in District 2 and got a lot of these paving projects done. But that's what you can do when you have good equipment, when you're not worried about it breaking down. It breeds confidence in your crews. It breeds confidence in the future for them that, hey, we've got a county that supports us. It's pretty hard to walk into a dilapidated barn that's got water flowing through it and equipment that's breaking down. It doesn't do a lot for morale. So it's totally flipped. You can really see the Mighty Ducks. I call them, that's their nickname because, it floods. They were ducks. They learned how to work in the water. And so I call them the Mighty Ducks, but doing a great job, just great attitudes out there. Couldn't be more proud of them. Matter of fact, I remember circling them up in the barn. It got kind of emotional for me because I looked at every one of them. I said, look, I'll remember everybody who's in this barn working in these conditions. It's going to change. We're going to get a new facility. We're going to get new equipment. But I'll remember everybody who was here working these kind of conditions, doing the top quality job you did with what you had for your community. So appreciate them.
That is awesome. And I know one of those projects is underway currently off Avery Drive, a big project for District 2 and revitalizing that very historical road that just kind of goes near the Arkansas River. Talk about that project, if you will.
My district, I'm blessed with a very diverse district. Got the largest stretch of Route 66 through Tulsa County, comes through this district, and just the name Avery, it's the father of Route 66. So to me, that's historic in itself that we're memorializing really the father of Route 66 with this drive. It's one of the prettiest in the county, anybody who's been on it. And I've heard, the calls like, hey, we've got a bypass. Why do we need Avery Drive? We should just close it. It's the most expensive road in the county. Go sit out there, and we did the story, and you sit out there, you see how many cars are driving back and forth on that road. So it's a critical, arterial that runs through our community, especially for the west side. So it's critical that we preserve that and put a top quality road there. What's been difficult is just the amount of slouching, sloughing, whatever you want to call it, of the road over time because it moves towards the river. And so we had some money, and we went out smartly and did some engineering work to see if there's a way to anchor this and really secure the soil to protect the road. So we're not continually having to come out and having these high maintenance costs of where you get the dips in the road and we have to go in and upgrade the subgrade and then repave it year after year. So got the engineering report back. It really identified the top 5 critical areas. What you'll see now, and they've started construction on that, is a soil anchoring project for the number 1 location. Typically, once those anchors are put in place, it takes a year of observation to make sure that what they call the soil has kind of anchored in there and secured. Once that happens, we can go back and really work on the other areas and then completely redo the road, where I think it's going to be preserved for a much longer time period, minimize the cost to the taxpayer over a long period of time, and really preserve one of the best roads in Tulsa County.
That's terrific. Lastly, let's just kind of conclude everything with a quick chat about making Chandler Park more accessible. We've been working on this ADA trail, which is nearing completion. Let's kind of preview what that's going to look like for the viewers.
Well, if you made it up for the Badges and Barbecue event, you got a little taste of great barbecue, but you got a great taste of what this venue is going to look like. Anybody who's been up to Chandler Park knows it's the best view of downtown that you're going to have in Tulsa County. So you've got that going for you. But really, they have built this out where you've got a band shell where you can have entertainment set up out there for these events. Got a large green space, much like Guthrie Green. Mm-hmm. But really the highlight of going to the lower ADA trail is the trail. Mm-hmm. And it takes you to an area that's referred to locally as the Lost World. And if you walk back there, you realize real quick why they call it that. Just huge rock formations back there. And what's great about this is every kid in Tulsa County is going to have access to this. No matter what their disability is, they can get back and enjoy this space like everybody else. Growing up with a stepfather who had polio when he was young, walked on crutches his whole life, just amazing man looking back. Growing up, you don't think that when you're a kid, you're like, this guy's terrible, he's mean, you name it. But as you grow older, you realize, he does what a parent does. He holds you accountable. He's prepping you up for the future. But what's amazing to me is looking back when I used to have to go. He was a professor at East Central University, and he taught computer science. And I used to have to get dropped off there so he could take me home from school. And I would peek in his classroom and kind of watch him teach sometimes. And he could stand on his crutches with his 2 thumbs and keyboard around a kid, teaching him computer science. And I mean, looking back now, it's incredible he was able to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think about him, I think kids like him, without the disability, there is absolutely nothing stopping them. So why don't we create the environment where there is nothing stopping them? Let's get them out there to enjoy the best of Chandler Park. It's open to everybody, but it's really a phenomenal venue that I think you'll see a lot of organizations and community partners take advantage of it. And I'll give Commissioner Keith, my predecessor, that was really her baby, and I will absolutely give her the credit for that. It's going to be phenomenal. She'll have a part in that presentation. I think she deserves that for her vision for that. So definitely don't want to overlook, her, really pushing this project forward.
Looking forward to that being done, and I'm excited about it. So thank you for sharing. There's so much stuff we could get into from last year while you were chair, but I think that was a very comprehensive look at what you were able to accomplish and what's going on across the county and in District 2. So thank you for sharing and for being in this beautiful venue. We want to thank the folks here at the Red Fork Depot and the Village for allowing us to use this facility today, and just thanks for being here.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate
you, Ethan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And for those watching, remember to always stay connected to Tulsa County.